Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel.
The latest twists in Port Charles are bringing a storm of raw feelings and high-stakes decisions, pulling longtime favorites into the crossfire of their own regrets and rivalries. As fans gear up for Tuesday's episode of General Hospital, the air crackles with tension from simmering grudges to desperate secrets threatening to spill over. Clash of the Titans, Britt and Emma's explosive showdown. In the shadowy underbelly of medical intrigue at the hospital, Britt Westfern and Emma Scorpio Drake are on a collision course that promises fireworks. Their history is laced with sharp barbs. Britt's no-nonsense edge clashing against Emma's fiery determination ever since those early days of teen rebellion and family loyalties. But now, the stakes have skyrocketed following the disastrous teen escapade into Dalton's restricted lab. A forbidden zone packed with experimental serums and confidential patient files that could unravel major cover-ups. Picture this: Rocco, the young hacker with a knack for gadgets, got nabbed by security while trying to snag Britt's key fob, that sleek electronic pass granting access to the vault-like storage. What started as a misguided quest to uncover hidden truths about a recent scandal devolved into chaos, with alarms blaring and guards swarming like bees from a disturbed hive. Charlotte and Danny, the pint-sized accomplices, spilled the beans to their parents in a tearful huddle, begging for intervention to spring Rocco free. Even though Emma pulled the plug on the operation mid-mission right after news hit of Ned's sudden heart episode gripping the Quartermain mansion in panic, she and her partner in crime, Gio, can't shake the weight of remorse. They handpicked Rocco because his small frame and tech savvy seemed perfect for slipping past the laser grids and biometric locks. But hindsight is a brutal teacher. Britt, ever the vigilant guardian of protocols, pieced it together fast and now views Emma as the reckless ringleader who endangered kids for a shot at vigilante justice. Come Monday's build-up, their confrontation erupts in a sterile hallway lined with flickering fluorescent lights, voices echoing off cold tile walls. Britt unleashes a torrent of accusations, her words slicing like scalpels. You think dragging innocence into your little rebellion makes you a hero. It just makes you dangerous. Emma fires back, defending her crew with the passion of someone who's seen too many cover-ups bury the truth, her eyes flashing with defiance. The exchange won't end quietly. Expect shattered clipboards, raised voices drawing stares from nurses, and a rift that could fracture alliances across the hospital staff. Compounding Britt's fury is the courtroom drama at Rocco's arraignment, where the judge, influenced by shadowy whispers from higher-ups, slaps on escalated charges tampering with secure facilities now laced with felony cyber intrusion counts that could mean years behind bars for a kid barely out of high school. Britt, who once mentored young talents in the watches her world tilt as the gavel falls, fueling her resolve to protect her own at any cost. Emma, caught in the blast radius, might find herself dodging more than just verbal jabs. Alliances could shift, pulling in unexpected mediators like a concerned Max Scorpio trying to douse the flames before they spread to the entire Scorpio Drake clan. Trina's turmoil, the weight of a buried secret. Across town, Trina Robinson grapples with an emotional whirlwind that could upend her family's fragile peace. The night of the botched attempt on Drew Kane's life replays in her mind like a looped nightmare, shadows dancing in the dim glow of Drew's modest home. The acrid scent of gunpowder lingering in the air. She and Kai, her impulsive ally with a history of bending rules, had snuck in amid the confusion, hearts pounding as sirens wailed in the distance. What they found: a crumpled note and a discarded cartridge casing pointed fingers straight at Portia, Trina's own mother, whose alibi was already fraying at the edges like worn fabric. In a haze of adrenaline, Kai pocketed the damning items, and together they torched the evidence in a backyard fire pit, flames devouring the proof under a canopy of stars. But actions have echoes, and Trina's conscience now screams louder than the crackle of that blaze. Fear coils in her gut like a serpent, twisting with guilt over betraying her mom's trust and the terror of what confession might unleash jail time for obstruction, shattered bonds with her siblings, and Portia's medical career crumbling under scrutiny from the PCPD's relentless hounds. As the episode unfolds, Trina paces her room, posters of art exhibits mocking her inner chaos, debating her next move in hushed whispers to a trusted friend. The pull to come clean grows irresistible. Visions of a courtroom where her testimony could exonerate Drew but condemn her family haunting her sleep. Yet holding back offers its own perils. The gnawing dread that the truth will surface anyway, perhaps through overlooked clue or a slip from Kai's loose lips. This internal battle highlights Trina's growth from wide-eyed artist to a young woman forged in Port Charles fires, where loyalty and justice often demand impossible choices. Will she march into the station, voice steady despite trembling hands, or bury it deeper, risking everything for the ones she loves? Dante's breaking point, authority under fire. Stepping into the acting police commissioner's chair should have been a milestone for Dante Falconeri. A nod to his years of gritty detective work patrolling the fog-shrouded docks and unraveling mob tangles. Yet on day one, he's thrust into the eye of a personal storm, his son Rocco's arrest hanging like a noose, testing every ounce of his resolve. Dante played it straight, stone-faced in the interrogation room, ensuring no whispers of favoritism tainted the badge he wears so proudly. Colleagues nodded approval at his poise, but beneath the surface, pressure built like steam in a sealed kettle. By Monday, that lid blows off. Dante's temper flares in a precinct buzzing with ringing phones and clacking keyboards, his usual measured tone giving way to a sharp bark that silences the bullpen. The trigger. Likely the fallout from the lab heist, with Gio and Emma's blueprint for the break-in coming under fresh scrutiny. Gio, Dante's newly acknowledged son, has been inching toward acceptance of his tangled heritage, embracing the Quartermain legacy alongside his roles as Brooklyn's child and Dante's own flesh and blood. Their bond, fragile as spun glass after years of estrangement, teeters on the brink of something real. Shared coffees at Kelly's, tentative talks about future barbecues. But if Dante turns his ire on Gio, accusing him of endangering the younger set with reckless schemes, it could shatter that progress. Imagine the scene. Dante slamming a file on his desk, veins bulging as he demands, "You knew the risk, kids could have been hurt for good." Gio defensive yet yearning for connection. Might counter with pleas about seeking justice in a city rife with lies. The hope lingers that they navigate this without fresh wounds, perhaps with Brooklyn intervening, her Quartermain fire tempering the clash into a path forward. Dante's outburst underscores the human side of power in Port Charles, where leading the law means confronting your own heart first. Whispers and investigations. Shadows lengthen in Port Charles. Amid the personal tempests, quieter currents stir elsewhere. Lulu Spencer, still navigating her post-coma haze and journalistic instincts, seeks solace in Carly Corinthos, the inflappable force who's weathered more betrayals than most. Over steaming lattes at the Metro Court, Lulu unloads her worries about family fractures, Carly offering nuggets of hard-won wisdom drawn from her own battles with Sunny's world. Their chat peels back layers of vulnerability, hinting at Lulu's itch to dive back into reporting on the Drew shooting, potentially crossing paths with the teen's mess. Meanwhile, Alexis Davis, ever the sharp legal mind, taps Felicia Scorpio for some off-the-book sleuthing. Tasked with mapping Portia's movements that fateful night, Felicia, with her flair for disguises and old-school gumshoe tricks, uncovers the alibi's cracks faster than a fault line in an earthquake. Portia claimed a late shift at the hospital, but receipts and witness glimpses place her elsewhere. Perhaps lingering near Drew's neighborhood with motives tied to long-buried resentments from medical school days. Felicia compiles a dossier thick with timestamps and photos, handing it to Alexis with a knowing wink. This could topple empires, but use it wisely. As Alexis weighs going to the PCPD, the pieces align for a broader reckoning, Portia's name bubbling up in briefings, forcing her to confront not just the lie, but the why behind it. These side threads weave a tapestry of suspicion, reminding viewers that in Port Charles, no secret stays buried long, and every confidence could ignite the next blaze. Next, Port Charles enthusiasts imagine settling into a sprawling Gothic estate overlooking the stormy Atlantic, only to realize the shadows hiding far more than dusty portraits and creaking floors. That's the unwitting reality Lucas Jones has stepped into by relocating to Windermere with his new love, Marco Sidwell. This isn't just a romantic getaway. It's a powder keg in the heart of a brewing underworld conflict where loyalties fracture and lives hang by a thread. At the epicenter stands Jen Sidwell, Marco's father, a shadowy figure whose criminal empire clashes violently with Sonny Corinthos' iron grip on the docks. Lucas, blissfully unaware, has just volunteered as the unwitting bridge in this escalating turf war. Lucas's choice to uproot his life and nestle into Windermere's isolated embrace reveals a heartbreaking naivety that could unravel everything he's built. Fresh from his divorce and eager for a fresh start, he views this move as a bold affirmation of his relationship with Marco, the charming architect who's promised seclusion and stability in one of the mansion's private wings. Yet Windermere's history whispers warnings. It's the former haunt of the Casadines, a lineage synonymous with intrigue, betrayal, and untimely ends. Inventing a layer of irony, picture Lucas unpacking his medical textbooks in a room once used for illicit experiments by Helena Casadini herself, unbeknownst to him. The estate's underbelly still pulses with secrets. His judgment, clouded by infatuation, dismisses the red flags as mere gossip, turning what should be a sanctuary into a trapdoor to chaos. Elizabeth Weber, ever the voice of reason in Port Charles's turbulent tapestry, pulled Lucas aside with a plea rooted in her own scars from mob-adjacent dangers. As a nurse who's patched up the fallout from Sonny's vendettas, she painted a vivid picture of Windermere's perils, not just its eerie isolation, but the very real threat posed by Jen Sidwell's operations. "This isn't a fairy tale retreat," she urged, her eyes shadowed by memories of her entanglements with Jason Morgan. Elizabeth detailed how Sidwell's reach extends to sabotage and violence, from rigged explosions to overseas abductions. But Lucas, stubborn in his optimism, waved it off, insisting the couple's wing would shield them like a fortified bubble. This dismissal isn't mere youthful folly, it's a calculated denial. Analyzing how Lucas's recent personal upheavals, his custody battles, and identity struggles have primed him to chase normalcy at any cost, blinding him to the storm clouds gathering. Meanwhile, across town in the dimly lit backrooms of Sonny's empire, the coffee kingpin and his enforcer Jason Morgan dissect their strategy with cold precision. Sonny's grudge against Sidwell isn't abstract, it stems from a cascade of aggressions, including the fiery destruction of Charlie's pub, a beloved neutral ground band, brutal assaults on key players like Anna Devane, Jason, and even the resilient Lucky Spencer during a high-stakes African operation. Sidwell's endgame threatens everything we protected. Sonny growls in hushed tones, weighing assassination as a grim necessity. They've mapped contingencies, surveillance on Windermere's perimeters, potential diversions via Corinthos shipments, and a timeline sensed to Sidwell's next illicit move. The analysis here cuts deep. Sonny's moral code, forged in decades of power plays, views Sidwell as an existential foe, but introducing Lucas complicates the calculus. As Carly's brother, Lucas ties directly to Sonny's extended family, transforming a clean hit into a potential bloodbath that could fracture alliances. Carly Corinthos, the fierce matriarch who's weathered more betrayals than most, erupted when Lucas confided his plans over a tense family dinner. Her reaction wasn't overblown hysteria. It was a mother's instinct amplified by intimate knowledge of the streets. Windermere. With Sidwell's spawn, she demanded, slamming her coffee mug down hard enough to chip the table. She recounted Sidwell's atrocities in stark detail, the pub inferno that nearly claimed lives, the African kidnappings that left scars on her loved ones. In a heated twist I envision, Carly even pulls out faded photos from the incident, showing singed debris and hospital reports to hammer home the stakes. Lucas's retort equating Sidwell's missteps to Sonny's own checkered past ignited her fury, a raw clash of hypocrisy versus reality. Carly's not just protecting her brother. She's analyzing the ripple effects on her fragile peace with Sonny, knowing one wrong move could drag her back into the crossfire she fought to escape. From Sidwell's vantage, Lucas isn't a mere romantic interloper. He's a golden opportunity in the chess game against Sonny. The mobster, with his silver tongue and calculating eyes, confides to his aide Pascal that Lucas represents a vital conduit to Carly's trust. Paving the way for détente toward dominance over Corinthos, Sidwell's empire craves expansion. Particularly Sonny's waterfront appears essential for smuggling rare artifacts tied to a shadowy legacy project inherited from the enigmatic Faison. In this invented expansion, Sidwell dreams of transforming those piers into a hub for experimental tech, blending old-world crime with cutting-edge innovation. Lucas, as Carly's kin, becomes leverage incarnate upon whose medical expertise could unwittingly aid Sidwell's schemes. This strategic lens dissects Sidwell's psyche, a man who rose from European underworld obscurity, viewing relationships as transactions, ready to exploit Lucas's innocence for territorial gains. The plot thickens with Britt Westburn's clandestine involvement, adding a layer of medical mystery to Windermere's gloom. Stripped of her license after ethical lapses, Britt has pivoted to Sidwell's payroll, spearheading a covert laboratory buried in the mansion's catacombs. Her project, a bioagent synthesis, whispered to counter Sunny's muscle with something insidious, perhaps a tailored toxin derived from Faison's old formulas, promising non-lethal incapacitation for rivals. When Marco and Lucas interrupt a tense meeting, Sidwell spins a flimsy tale of Britt as a consultant on estate renovations. But the lie hangs heavy. Britt's silence isn't indifference, it's self-preservation. Her history with Lucas marked by his biting jabs at her fallen status festering like an open wound. Analyzing her wildcard potential, Britt embodies Port Charles's moral ambiguity. She notes Sidwell's contingency for Lucas. The chilling directive to Pascal to neutralize any prying eyes, a euphemism for elimination if secrets spill. Will her grudge silence her, or could a moment of conscience spark a warning? Envision the nightmare unfolding. Lucas, navigating Windermere's labyrinthine halls late one night, drawn by a faint hum from a forbidden store. He stumbles into Britt's lab aisles glowing under sterile lights, data streams on screens detailing chemical compounds. The shock ripples through him, a doctor's oath clashing with terror as Pascal materializes, gun drawn. Sidwell's plan activates. Deal with him quietly, the order echoes. This scenario analyzes the fragility of Lucas's position. His hospital ties could expose everything, but at what cost? Sidwell's ruthlessness, honed in back alley dealings, leaves no room for mercy. Lucas's death would serve as both cleanup and message to Sunny. Worse still looms the hostage gambit, a tactic Sidwell might deploy if Sunny's threats escalate. With the piers as the ultimate prize vital for his Faison project, which I expand as a network of black market innovations promising underworld supremacy, Sidwell could seize Lucas as collateral. Hand over the docks, Corinthos, or your family pays, he'd broadcast, Lucas bound in Windermere's depths, his pleas echoing unanswered. Carly's devastation would be profound, her warnings unheeded, now a haunting regret, forcing Sunny into a torturous dilemma: surrender assets or risk another loss in his volatile world. This hypothetical dissects the human cost of mob life. Lucas, collateral in a war he never enlisted for, highlighting how personal bonds become weapons in Port Charles's endless cycle of vengeance. As tensions simmer, one can't ignore the broader implications for the town's fragile equilibrium. Lucas's oblivious plunge underscores a timeless soap theme: love's allure versus survival's demands. Will a near miss with Britt's secrets jolt him awake? Or does this spark the blaze that engulfs Windermere in flames? Port Charles watches, breathless, as the pieces align for catastrophe. Would you like to adjust the tone to be more dramatic, or add specific elements like additional character interactions?
Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye.